Welcome, my name's Sam and this is The Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. This is our final card for the stamp set of the week, Layers of Beauty, and we're going for a funky fold. So this is the card we're going to create. It is a gate or a fence card. So basically you're given the illusion that you've got a fence, and then you decorate it with some beautiful dies. So let me bring in the supplies and we can begin. So the first thing we're going to need is a piece of white cardstock. For this, I'm having a white picket fence. Obviously, you could choose whatever colour you wanted. This measures 8 inches by 5 3/4. So it's the same size as a normal base, card base that we have. I then have a piece of Designer Series paper. Now this is 5.5 by 7.5. We'll score that in a moment. And then I have a piece of white cardstock which measures 3.5 by 5 1/4. And then I have a 4 by 6, yeah, 4 by 6 piece of paper, just to stamp out my focal image. And I've done it a bit bigger than I would normally need, just so that I've got enough space. Okay, so let's do the focal image first. So what we're going to need is, again, I have put it on my, excuse me, on my Stamparatus. I am going to ink it up in Early Espresso. So if you saw the video on Wednesday, you will see that we're doing a bit of masking, but I'm just going to run through it very quickly in case you didn't. So what I'm going to do, so this is the focal image. I'm going to ink it up in the Early Espresso. I'm just going to take my ink pad to the stamp rather than the other way around. It's on my Stamparatus because I don't have a large enough block. So I've just managed to, there it is. I was going to say I've just managed to hide away my my piece of paper, but I found it. Okay, so I've sort of worked out where I want it to go. I've just put a little marks in each corner so I know where it is. And then I'm just going to bring it up over and just push it down and make sure it is all in place. There we go. Perfect. Oh, look at that. It's come over. There we go. So it's all come out beautifully. Then pop this away. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to do the masking. So I've got myself a small piece of grid paper, which I'm going to use for my, to use while I'm masking. So I've got myself some washi tape, and I keep disappearing. Oh yeah, there it is, right beside me. I thought the Stamp and Seal had done another disappearing act. So I'm going to put a piece of Stamp and Seal on the bottom of that. That is going to help keep my piece of paper in situ while we mask and blend. Okay, there we go. All right, perfect. So that is now in place. We have, oh, excuse me. We have 5 masks. They're numbered in the top left-hand corner. I don't know if you can see them. I'm going to try and tilt it and see, hopefully. All right, there's a 1, so there's a number 1 there, and you've got this little V, and so that basically shows you, as long as you've got your V each time in the same place, you should have it all done nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my mask in in the correct position. The first one I always find is the hardest, because once you have done the hard work, thereafter it becomes a lot easier. So simply make sure you've got it in place. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Hold it down with some washi tape. I'm going to put a bit around there. And a bit down here. And a bit across here. Then with a pen, just mark the edges. So that one down. This will help you line up the other 4 pieces. So the first thing we need to do is we are going to put the base colour down. So for me, the base colour for this flower is going to be Peach Pie. Oh, hello. Not quite sure where that piece of cardstock came. So I'm just going to tap my brush onto my ink pad, take off some of it because I don't want it to be too dark because it's the base, and then I'm just going to work over my flower. So I'm just going to come in here, and it's a subtle colour. Doesn't want to be too hard because obviously we're actually adding, we are going to be adding 2 other colours to the flower. Okay, so that's the first one. I'm not going to cover the entire piece. I'm just showing you roughly how it works. So then you can peel off your washi tape. I'm just going to keep them on my fingers for the moment. There we go. And then we're going to take our second piece, which is this one. Now, some of these are quite delicate because obviously they're trying to give you detail and masking effect. So be very careful when you are blending over them. So again, you're going to make sure your V is at the top. I've got my number 2, and you're going to try and line up your edges with the ink mark that you've already left. This should help you line up your flowers perfectly. You might have to give them just a little bit of a what's the word, skew-iffy bit. Just try and move them around, but it makes it so much easier. Does that make sense, what I've just said? Right, so the reason I've also got it on a small piece of thing is so that I can move it around. It makes life so much easier. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to add my second layer, and this time my second layer is crushed curry. Again, tap, and I'm just going to go over. Now, if you've got pieces like this one here that lifts up and these ones that lift up, make sure that you blend in the direction so that you're not folding them back on themselves. Okay, it just will extend the life of your mask, and also it will stop you from breaking anything. Right, let's try and do that bit there. Okay, so that's the second one. The third colour we're going to use is Pumpkin Pie. So again, I'm going to take off my masks, keep hold of my washi tape. You'll only need 1 piece of washi tape for each time you mask. So now I'm going to number 3. So my corner is on the correct side, or my cutout is on the correct side. There we go. Layer that up. Happy with the positioning, and then just add my washi tape. There we go, and bring in again the pumpkin pie. Okay, again, making sure that we follow the direction of the mask. As long as if nothing's poking up, you can quite easily just go over it. There isn't on this one. I think it's just the number 2 position that, and I think maybe some of the leaves, you have to be just very careful with it, and you blend in the direction of the mask. Okay, so that is my final colour for the flowers. And then what we need to do now is to add the greenery. So let's remove that again. There we go. So the greenery is only 2 colours. You've got the base and then you'd have the definition or the veins of the leaves really. So V at the top, number 4. Pop this into place. Yep, I'm happy with that. Go 1, 2, and the final piece to go there. Right, so for my base colour I'm using soft seafoam. So let's have some greenery going around this beautiful flower. I mean, if you were adventurous, you could probably add, you know, 3 different, whereas with my flowers I've used tones of colour, so the yellows to the orange. You could, I suppose, go wild and do 3 different colours as long as they all sit comfortably together. Oh dear. Well, it's been a long time since the dogs have barked, but they've done it. I'm not sure if that's the postman or if the neighbour's going out. Right, okay, so this is the dark green. So this is garden green I've gone for this time. And this is to, oh, see, got confused there. Let's lift that off first and take the washi tape off. Right, okay, so again I'm going to line that up now that I've remembered to do it. Perfect. Happy with that? Yep. There we go. Right, so let's just lie that piece down. Just go down there, thank you very much. I think I made that piece of washi tape too big. It had enough time to curl up on itself. It's literally just there to hold it in place while you blend, so you don't really need excessive amounts. Right, and then we're just going to go over the top to add colour, the second colour to our leaves. And again, depending on how dark or how light you want your veins, you can add more. So I always suggest to start light because you can always add more, but you can't take away. Right, there we go. So that is our blending with the mask. Everything has finished now, we've done enough, and there is our beautiful piece of card base. There we go. So the next thing to do is to take, with the dies, they come with this beautiful die to cut out the entire flower. So run that through your die and cut machine and it will come back looking like this, just as magic. Right, so the hard work is done. Now it's time to create the card. So I'll pop that aside for a second and we can begin. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take our piece of white card base, which is the 8 inches by 5 3/4. And we're going to score this at the 4-inch mark. I'll put the 4-inch there, bring that down, and with my bone folder I'm just going to score. There we are. And then I'm going to fold that in half. Oh, well that didn't look very well, did it? Why has that been? Did I not make that 8 inches? Let's see, shall we? I thought I had, but maybe I hadn't. No, I hadn't. Okay, so let's cut that bit off. There we go, perfect. It's all in the right place now. All right, so that is our piece of white card base. I'm going to bring in my designer series paper and I'm going to score this at 3 3/4 of an inch. Now I don't want to score it heavily, just enough for it to fold because I don't want it to tear the designer series paper. So there we go, and we can fold that in half there. Okay, so that's all the folding. Now for the cutting. We can close up our arm. Right, so putting the fold to the right of you, you're going to line up this edge of the card to the 2.5 inch mark, and we are simply going to cut it off. There we go, look at that, perfect. We are then going to turn our piece of card base round, so just this strip here, and we're going to mark it at the 1 inch. Now I don't want to cut it down fully, or mark it all the way down fully, sorry, just a little mark there, okay? And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mark it at the 4 3/4. This is literally where our base of our leg is going to go. I'll explain to you in a second what I mean. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to bring our 2 3/4 strip in. There it is, 2.5 strip, and we are going to cut that down to 4 strips that are 1/2 inch long, wide even. So we've got 1, 2. Now if you wanted to add texture, you could also run this through the embossing machine, but for today's purpose of the video we're just going 3 and then 1/2 inch 4. There we go. This piece is not needed, so we've got our 4 pieces that we need. Okay, so you need to grab yourself a piece of scrap card. I've got a piece here. It probably needs to be 3.5 inches long by 1/2 inch wide. So let's have a look. So that's 1/2 inch going all the way down there. Okay, so let's cut that. So there's your 1/2 inch, and then I need 2 pieces that measure 3.5 inches long. So you've got 1, and then 2. All my measurements for this card will be on my blog, so don't panic, it will all make sense measurement wise. So these 2 are the panels that go vertically, which creates our fence panels. Okay, so what we need to do is work out roughly where they're going to go. So let's go down. So about that much worth of glue to go on. So level up the base onto the bottom. You're working roughly for that to go halfway through. Okay. Sorry, my arm is not bending today. Move that up. And I'm just going to put some glue. She says, let's take that bit of glue off. Come on. There we go. Not too much, you don't want it to seep out, but enough to hold it down. Okay, so you've glued it now. You're going to measure that up to the base. Make sure it's flat. And then bring it straight down and just push. Okay, so there we go. That's that into place there. I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. So we're going to pop it in place. Make sure it's level with the bottom piece of the card. Okay, it is. And then I'm just going to add my glue. Come on, we all saw you come out just a minute ago, so don't pretend you're not there. Okay, there we go, perfect. Right, so lift that up and then bring that down. Okay, and hold it there for a couple of seconds. Perfect. So you've got your fence posts are now in. So the next thing we need to do is to put our bottom panel or bottom fence in. But before we do, I want to put the sentiment on. So I'm going to use the words happy birthday. It's from the Simply Said stamp set, and I'm going to use the Early Espresso. So I'm just going to tap that, make sure that's all nicely done. And then I'm going to bring this in and stamp over to the right hand side. So straight down, straight up. Perfect. Okay, so what we can do now is our base panel for the fence can go in. So we just need to work out how much glue we need to put down. So I'm going to hold that. And we're going to pop a tiny bit of glue here. There we go. And a tiny bit of glue there. Just enough, as I say, not to ooze over, but to hold the strip into place. So that's one there and one there. Just hold it down with your fingers for a couple of seconds. There we go. Right, so the next thing to do, what you can do to try and help with the bounciness, take your bone folder and really try and crease that. There we go, look at that position. And that will hold that down for you. Now, we have 3 strips left, so we can work out roughly where we want them to go. You could, if you wanted to, put them all woven, so that one could go underneath, and then that one could go over the top. Or you can just put them all over the top, which is what I'm going to do today. You're aiming for a little gap between each of the panels, like you would on a normal fence. Okay. Right, I'm going to put the middle one down first. I'm going to put a dab of glue in the middle. Oops, come back here. Thank you very much. A dab of glue there and a dab of glue there. Then I'm going to put that one into place, lining it up with the end, each end of the card base. Well, for some reason all the dogs in the neighbourhood seem to be barking, so goodness knows what's going on out there. Right, we can add our glue to the centre of that panel and there. Oh dear, Belzy. She's got a lot to say for herself this morning. There we go. Bella is very talkative and Boots is very yappy. But you can always guarantee that Boots is the one that's going to start with the yappiness, and then that sets Bella off. If they don't be quiet, I will stop the video and go and shush them, and then hopefully we can't come back again. Right, okay, so that is our fence panel completed. So next thing to do is to take our piece of designer series paper, and this is going to go inside our card. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that this is folded and scored 100% happy with. Okay, so let's make sure that goes up. Come on. There we go. There, perfect. Okay. It's upside down. Right, so always make sure that your whatever is underneath is going to be the right way when the card is opened. So the thing to do now is to take the glue and to cover the back piece of your designer series paper with glue. So when I say the back piece, I mean the piece that is going to be stuck to the inside of your card base. Okay, so let's pop that down in place. Perfect. Okay, we've now got our white piece that we're going to put inside, so that makes it easier for people to write on. So let's take that and we'll do the same. I'm going to stick that down. If you wanted to, you could add a sentiment or a greeting inside, but I'm not going to worry on this one. There we go. So we now have a nice white inner for people to write on, so that can close. So we are almost there. The only thing we need to do now is to add our beautiful centerpiece. Right, so you've got two options. You can glue it down. When you're gluing down, again, make sure that you don't bring the glue through these holes, otherwise it will stick to your paper and it will defeat the object. Unless, of course, that's what you want to do. So the reason for this piece of designer series paper inside is when people write on it here, if this wasn't here, the writing would show through. Ask me how I know that. It's, yes, unfortunately, it was something I didn't think about on the first card I created. But there we go. Right, let's have a look. So that's how I think I want things to go. I'm going to do it with dimensionals this time. Let's see if I can be brave. So I'm going to bring my dimensionals in. Okay, so I'm going to know that I need a piece that goes there. Okay, so that goes there. I've got a piece that will go here, so I can put one there and one there. So one there and one there. So that should hopefully hold it over. Perfect. And then I probably need, or definitely need, one on this bit here. Hover it over. And then I'm going to need a piece here, so I'm going to put, where do I want that piece to go? Let's have a look. I'm going to put it here. So in theory, that should hold our card piece down. So let's take that piece off, and then we can take these pieces off, the backings. There we go. Right, and then we can position our flower into place. Perfect. There we go. So that is finished. But what you can do if you want to is to add some bling should you wish to, or you could just leave it as it is. So thank you ever so much for joining me this week for Layers of Beauty Stamp Set of the Week. I will be back on Monday with a new design on a new card, so do join me for then. But whatever you do, happy crafting and have a safe weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye.